Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of CineCringe. My name is George, and if you recognize my voice, that's because you came over here from CineBinge. So welcome, and with me is Chris, and he's gonna tell us what are we doing today.
Today is a very special Valentine's Day episode. We are looking at the epic romantic comedy trilogy, The Kissing Booth, The Kissing Booth 2, and The Kissing Booth 3. A series of Netflix romances written and directed by a man named Vince Marcello, previously the writer-director of Grace Stirs Up Success, Isabel Dances into the Spotlight, Sage Paints the Sky, and there are more. Basically, This guy has made a career out of condescending to young women.
Excellent. Sounds like a great series, a great resume for us to do on this channel.
Absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, if that's the way you feel after watching these three, then I could follow you into hell. The books that this series is based on, there are three books. They are by Beth Reekles, and I don't know if she's a Welsh writer, I believe, and I don't know if you knew this, George, but the first Kissing Booth was written and released on Wattpad when she was 15 years old.
I think throughout the entire three films, the number one thing that I felt consistently was these are three movies made by a middle-aged man who every day has imaginary arguments with an imaginary teenager in his head, and he wins all of those arguments. And this is what he thinks teenagers are like.
They're basically about this girl who lies instinctively in every conceivable situation to everyone she knows. Okay, so the plot of The Kissing Booth is there is a young woman named Elle. She has a lifelong friendship with a guy named Lee. She also has always sort of had a crush on his older brother, Noah. But they have these bestie rules, she and Lee. And one of those rules is that you're not supposed to bone Lee's brother. Or, I think it's less specific than that. They get the idea to put on a kissing booth. And they pitch this idea to the Jedi Council of the school, and the council agrees, but does not make them Master Jedi. Kissing Booth becomes this kind of crucible where everyone's dreams and hopes, and indeed Elle draws closer and closer to Noah until they kiss, I think at some point, and then bone under the Hollywood sign. And then basically the movie's over at the halfway point. The big issue she faces then is that they have this rule from when they were 6. She and Lee have this rule that she couldn't date Noah, so she just lies to him and dates him anyway. Yeah. And then at the end, he finds out, but it doesn't matter.
It's called Kissing Booth, but the booth itself is maybe 10 minutes of the movie. The rest of it is just problems that don't need to exist if she stops lying.
So the movie opens with a montage.
It literally starts from birth.
Starts from birth, yeah. And this montage shows her growing relationship with Lee, her growing attraction to Noah, and most hilariously, seesaws back and forth between these happy upgrowing elements and these mentions of a dying mom who will never figure into anything ever again.
Yeah, it has no purpose whatsoever. This seems to be the sign of a bad movie, is they're already showing you things, but they still need to narrate over it because clearly what they've shot isn't enough to convey emotions or convey the story. And this montage, man, it's long. The narration is pointless.
Discovered that I wasn't gonna be a fashion icon. Discovered I am good at sports.
My jaw was dropping already because I couldn't believe that there was another hour and 50 minutes left.
Yeah. It's just, the beginning of the opening of the movie is just one big, long verbal diarrhea.
So you compare it to a good teen movie like Booksmart, which came out a couple years ago.
Are we gonna go to school or?
What's 2 + 2?
They typically start by introducing the character in a very clear and concise way that lets you know what their place is in the school, what their place is in life, and what their dynamic with their bestie is, because those are the important things. In Booksmart, it starts with them dancing outside the car, and we already know everything we need to know about these characters. The Kissing Booth gives us a 4-minute montage detailing this woman's entire life. Not only after that, but also after 3 movies, know nothing about her.
Yeah, and not only not know nothing, I don't care.
Well, yeah. Which is maybe even a more serious issue.
This brief little scene, these cheerleaders are gawking at Elle. Because her skirt is too short. This is the first time I'm hearing teenagers in this movie say things that they would never say.
Wait. Oh my word.
Oh my word?
Oh my word. Goodness lordy.
And that continues very shortly after when Elle is in the principal's office and she says this.
Dude, touch my lady bum.
Lady bum?
God damn it.
Oh my word, and lady bum is something I can imagine Stephen Fry says. And he's a 60-year-old British man. You know what it is? I think this movie is trying to create new lingo. It's trying to create
Do
new
the Mean
words.
Girls, Heathers, yeah.
I think that's what that is.
There's this increasing professionalism in film. There's a reason why Netflix releases all look the same, and it's because you have this narrow set of professional people who are delivering a polished product. And what is in some ways more sad to me is that the same thing with professionalization is happening on the acting side. They seem like people that have studied acting. And so we get scenes like this.
Girl who's never been kissed does a kissing booth? What?
Yes, irony is a cruel mistress indeed.
Her energy in that moment has nothing to do with the energy that he's giving to her. That there are choices like this where the actor made a choice ahead of time about how it was going to be. And that's a problem with increased professionalization. You learn to do acting the professional way, where you break down everything and decide exactly how a line's going to go and how something might feel. And that works fine if you're able to also organically react in the moment and change as you're interacting with people. But that's not what happens in movies like this and in performances like this.
It's a bit of a IKEA furniture style of acting.
Absolutely, yes.
We're not the French. Most of us.
I'm British, you wanker.
That British girl's reaction calling him a wanker is the only good part for this entire scene. But the rest of the scene, there's that guy complaining about things that are just, confidently incorrect. There is all the reaction shots. What is with the girl with the braces? I mean, are we still making that joke? I feel like that's something I can expect from a comedy that didn't do very well in the 80s. The girl with the braces, and it's exaggeratedly terrible.
We come to this sequence where she gets super, super drunk at a party, and it's kind of the classic thing where she's like the good girl. I don't even know if she's a good girl in these movies. I don't know what she is. Okay, tell me this. Is she uncool? Is she supposed to be like a loser at the school?
I don't know. I don't know what character she's supposed to be, but the movie is trying really hard to make her sympathetic. That's all I know. And the movie is trying really, really hard to make her the I'm not like other girls girl.
If she's supposed to be uncool, she basically spends the entire movie with half the school clapping and cheering for her in various scenarios. Right. So I don't really know what was going on there. She gets drunk, way too drunk. She stands up on a table and starts to tear her clothes off. Mm-hmm. And this was where I really shifted from just being annoyed at the bad filmmaking to kind of being actively antagonized by the movie. Because first we get this really gross ogling shot, literally just a classic close-up tilt up her body as she takes off her dress. Yeah. And at the same time, Lee, her best friend since childhood, is sitting there watching, and he sees what's going to go wrong, and he just sits there and he's like, oh, fuck, and does nothing. He does nothing to help his drunk friend who is blackout and taking her clothes off in front of hundreds of people.
We find out in the next morning that Noah is the one that took her into his room after she passed out, right? Why didn't he just take her home where her father can take care of her? And also, she wakes up in his clothing, which means that at some point during the night, he undressed her while she's unconscious. And at no point did anybody writing or filming this think, hey, maybe we shouldn't show teenagers doing this?
This is a movie. It's an exploitation movie. It shows off a bunch of sexy teens and hunky guys. They're in tons of swimming suits. Noah's shirtless every second scene for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
When I was 13 and there were PG-13 movies with a bunch of sexy people in them, I was like, oh yeah, I can't wait until I'm a sexy teenager and I do all this fun, sexy teenager stuff. Fair enough. Teenagers are horny. They need an outlet. It is possible to do a movie about lust and love with teenagers that really speaks to teenagers and the way they are. But what made this movie feel so gross is that it doesn't feel like she has any sort of agency or any sort of drive or any sort of desire towards these things.
It's great that you say that, because this scene here...
I'm not pulling anything. Okay, well, my arm is caught. Let me just reach down and... Oh my god, I just touched touched it!
I swear to God, I've seen a scene like this and acting like this on a website that rhymes with Cornhub. Okay? Oh, I'm stuck in these curtains. Come help me, stepbrother. Like,
Oh no, sir, help, I'm stuck!
He basically is her stepbrother too, because she's basically their like freeloading sister that's always at their house.
why is no one stopping this?
There's so many moments in this movie where you remember that the main characters are just such goddamned assholes. The appearance of the kissing booth in the movie really threw me off because I thought the movie was about setting up the kissing booth, but I'm not sure that there's anything about the kissing booth itself that moves the story forward. It just gives people an opportunity to kiss, but these are people who see each other at school every day and could also just talk to one another.
I hope you like what you see.
Do you like what you see?
I love what I see.
And also, they're blindfolded and everyone is watching. You have no choice who you're kissing. You might as well just make this a glory hole.
Give this guy 2 minutes, eh?
George, you've discovered the parody that needs to be made.
Like you said, what seems like it should be the climax of the movie happening just before the midpoint. And it is the lead girl kisses the hot guy scene and the camera spins around unnecessarily like a Michael Bay shot, and there's fireworks going off.
Oh shit, I forgot about this. Yeah, they're just surrounded by CG.
It's completely unearned.
Thousands of romance novels are written every year. The stupidest ones of them get this stuff right. There's a buildup of tension based on misunderstandings between the two main characters. Each of them has something that they need to get over. They fight, and they're pushed further apart every time, but something about them draws them back to the other person. They can't escape each other. And finally, that push and pull seesaws so far that in the middle of the movie, they come together and they kiss before they're pushed even further apart by society and more misunderstandings and more circumstances. There's nothing in the movie to show why they couldn't have just fucking made out at the pool at the start of the movie.
Yeah, all they did is ogle, or she ogled at him for a bit, and then he punched a guy, and that was it.
Then the movie continues, and I have a quote from Caroline, who, unfortunately for her, was working from home on the day that I watched all 3 of these movies. And I quote, "I hate this woman. She is a liar and a coward." Which, you know, we've glossed over how many lies it took her to get to the kissing booth, but at this point, she has needlessly lied already to her love interest, her best friend, everyone on the council, and the OMG girls. Repeatedly. There is a moment at the end of the kissing booth that is my favorite moment in this movie, which is when she runs home. She runs home, and while she's running in this bullshit jog, there's voiceover where she's like,
As I ran home, I wondered if our kiss meant anything to Noah.
oh yeah. So they go to this gazebo in the garden where it's established that there's like this old guy that comes by who it's revealed like regularly watches him make out with girls at this spot.
It's so bizarre. Is that Gardner Vince's desired point of view? What he wishes he can do?
The self-insert character.
And even though I know I shouldn't.
Why is his motorcycle stupid?
The motorcycle with the mind of Jack's unemployed roommate.
And then, Dad.
Maybe her dad is a convict? Maybe that's his backstory.
Okay, and then we have the actual legitimate point. He's controlling.
You need to leave. I told you before, stop messing around.
He's extremely controlling.
Gone behind her back and threatened guys to not approach her.
That should be the only con, and it should be enough to remove all 3 pros.
Yep. So they're making out on the bed. The mom is going to come in, so Joey King hides under the bed.
Next to a tin of jelly.
Next to, yeah, kind of funny joke, actually. I'll give him that one. Hides under the bed. Mom comes in to get the laundry, which is all in the basket. But then she looks over and sees that there are dirty socks under the bed. And it's this moment of tension where she goes to pick up the socks and will she see Elle. What pissed me off about this is that this is Mom coming in to do this 18-year-old's laundry. And he's just throwing his shit on the floor. And she's just walking over and picking it up like the house servant.
Lee is absolutely a fuck you mom generation.
Absolutely. Lee comes in. He catches them in an intimate moment, and she has a bruise on her face.
I said, did you do that to her? Did you hit Elle?
His instinct about his brother is that his brother has punched her, and that this is what they're discussing. And this world suddenly opens up where you realize Lee genuinely believes it's a possibility that his brother is beating this girl. And I thought, is that who this guy is supposed to be?
So then when he finds out that that's not the case, and that instead they've been going out, blah, 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 Lee just has a tantrum, one of his many.
So this is what you've been keeping from me?
You were never meant to find out this way.
Seems like I was never meant to find out at all, doesn't it, Elle?
It's not up to you. You have nothing to do with this. Goes against their own stupid fucking rule that he seems to be so attached to, which is like, what is it? Like, be happy for your bestie's
success,
happiness
yeah.
or whatever. Exactly.
And is this also the creepy part where he has some line that's like, he's always had everything, and the one thing he didn't have was you?
Noah has gotten everything that he has ever wanted. The only thing that I had that he didn't was you.
Now he has that too, and I was like, God damn it, dude.
That friendship list, which is actually what this movie is really about.
Yes.
It should be the biggest red fucking flag of a toxic friendship. Not only causing problems, but it's gonna eventually control monumental, life-changing decisions.
Yes. It seems like what they bond over is like throwing paint on the floor. But I agree with you. There's only negative things between them. I have one more Caroline quote relating to his height. And that quote is, "Stop talking to his penis in every scene." A real issue in this movie is that he's like 1.5 feet taller than her. And every time they do a reverse shot, it just looks like her dad is looming over her.
I think we're just really learning a lot about Vince. Anyways, okay, so Kissing Booth Part 1, I feel like this movie should just be called Toxic List instead, because, I mean, the next 2 films is even more about that stupid-ass list.
Yeah, they settle the one rule, but they just keep on with the list, I guess. Out of 10, I'm going to give the Kissing Booth 1 restraining order for anyone and everyone who was involved in filming all the creepy underwear scenes. Vince, stop.
Okay, so now we're on to Kissing Booth 2 from 2020. Which reminds me, if you're interested in listening to the full-length discussion of this episode, you can find it on our Patreon. The link is on screen and in the description down below. If you go over there, you will get the entire recording in an audio format like a podcast. Check it out, support us, help us keep doing this. We really appreciate it. Anyways, this movie's 2 hours and 12 minutes long. It's half an hour longer than the first one, but there's less story somehow.
So when we last left our intrepid hero, Noah went to college in Boston because he got into Harvard. I guess we forgot to mention that. He's in college, she's in high school, trouble ahead, has a friendship, or is it more, with a dark exotic stranger named Chloe. She has a friendship, or is it more, with a dark exotic stranger named Marco. We forgot to talk in the first one about the fact that they've also bonded over the years over DDR. Awesome sick thing that they do together as friends is just fucking suck at DDR. You'll notice that they're playing on like, I don't know, fucking the second easiest setting, and their scores are like in the 70s.
That's actually really, really bad. Yeah. Right, and then they go into the DDR competition.
Yeah, so look, so the other issue is that Elle is like super poor or something, even though, again, she lives in a multi-million-dollar house. Classic scenario, the DDR dance competition is at the end of the month or whatever. It's $50,000 to the best DDR dancer.
I'm glad you remember that, because it has so little to do with the actual overall plot that I completely forgot that existed.
It does, and again, the money clearly doesn't matter because she's going to waitress her way to Harvard anyway in the third one.
Also, $50,000 winning, this tells me that the filmmakers have never paid taxes.
Under what circumstances would you be obligated to cooperate with an FBI or U.S. Justice Department investigation, for example?
This tells me that the filmmakers have no idea how much college actually costs.
Yeah, bro, check out inflation. Check out what students are paying right now.
Yeah,
Trying to get into Harvard with 50 grand in your pocket, you idiot.
And see what happens if you actually win $50,000 at a competition and the IRS comes around.
I mean, it's one banana, Michael. What could it cost? $10?
So the movie's the same movie. There's another rule on the list, which this time is you gotta go to the same college as your bestie, which, as we all know, is totally what you think of when you're 6 years old. Her best friend wants one thing, her boyfriend wants another thing. What does she want?
I wrote down a very short note here, maybe because I've never had an iPhone, but this looks like she's only ever sent one message.
I wrote down the same note. Every time they show a message in these movies, it is the first message that has been sent between these people.
Totally explains why you guys aren't posting on social anymore.
Oh, well, actually, Noah and I decided to keep it low-key on social.
Why does anybody at the school give a fuck about their relationship? Don't they have their own things? I don't understand. Why does half the school care?
I think you've really put your finger on the entire movie. Again and again, it seems like people care about these two people's lives.
For no reason.
I've spent 6 hours with them, having watched specifically their lives, let alone if I were, like a real person in this world who had my own life going on.
The beginning of the first movie, when they initially show the high school, they establish very clearly that there are cliques and groups like every other high school, right? But somehow Elle and Noah's relationship is so fucking special, it pierces all these social bubbles.
Do you remember an epic couple from your high school that
maybe if Noah killed Elle and wore her face.
Yeah, that would make an impression. I also wish that was the plot. Do the kissing booth again. They do the lies again.
Yeah, except this time they prove the booth without even knowing who's going to be in it. Just goes on for like about another minute of the Jedi Council, as you call them, being very excited about who they imagine to be in the kissing booth. Why are these people so excited about kissing?
I don't know. It seems as though the idea of like conquest and like kissing specific people is like somehow like a win for you, which I hope is not really the case, because that's not a path to happiness, I promise you.
Maybe he's also the dessert too. Tell me more.
Okay, so this random, I think she's supposed to be a goth girl, walks up to Elle, and on her phone is a recording of what we later found out is the guy Marco. If you actually look at the footage on her phone, it's like cinematically shot from different camera angles.
Marco's got the budget.
Why the fuck would you just randomly open to a total stranger who happens to have a video of a random guy and just immediately share with her all of your most inner moist thoughts?
Hashtag inner moist.
Hello, boys. So ridiculous. Oh my god, who's singing tonight then?
This is the start of the first drama, I say with quotation mark, that Elle introduces into the movie, or causes, which is her seeing one female character in the background in a room of 6 other people, and she somehow has it in her head that means Noah must be running the train on her every night with all the other guys.
Yeah, she has some issues with jealousy.
Some.
And she does not manage to work through them in the course of these movies. And this led into what I thought was one of the better things in this entire trilogy. She's jealous of this person, because we meet Chloe, and she's very glamorous, she's very easygoing, she's the life of the party, she seems driven, she has a lot of different friends and friend groups, and Elle naturally is jealous of her. This was the first time that I felt like I was connecting to a normal human emotion. Who wouldn't be jealous of Chloe? She's obviously got all her shit together. Of course this would bug you. And this is, like everything else, immediately botched.
And if Chloe's, better personality, better all-around character leads to Elle growing and becoming a better person herself, that would have been a fantastic character arc. It would have been the only character arc, which would have been fantastic. Except it doesn't, and instead, there's a scene later on where Chloe says to Elle
that I think you are an absolutely brilliant woman.
Oh my god. That was one of the low points of the movies for me. I was so frustrated. Elle drags Chloe down into a morass of bullshit and idiocy. Just really corrupts and ruins everything about the one potentially interesting character in the trilogy.
So basically, in this scene, Elle decides to invade Noah's privacy, chooses to ignore him, not talk to him based on an imaginary scenario in her head. And I'm supposed to sympathize with this character.
I feel like they took a whole new tack with this movie, because in the first one, you hate all the characters. But in this one, you really realize that actually you just hate Elle. And if she were gone, everything would be fine between everyone. That's the movie. Jumps to conclusions about what she's seen from invading his privacy. And that drives her into the arms of Marco, who she will eventually kiss.
Yes, she actually does the cheat. So she's just projecting.
She's just projecting. That's exactly right.
Yeah, and then they have this. I mean, look, right after accusing Noah of this and that, she sits on a beach at a romantic nighttime with Marco and gives her fuck me eyes the same way that Nala looked at Simba. And then Marco pulls out his guitar and starts playing. I mean, at this point, this scene, he might as well just start playing Wonderwall and how cliche this is.
This is like this very romantic sequence, but at the same time, I'm aware that she's only here in this romance, which is an attempt to cheat on her boyfriend, because she's made something up. You're not able to enjoy any of what's going on because the way that she gets herself into situations is always so horrifying. The only scene in the entire trilogy that doesn't feature one of the main characters is a scene between this guy and the guy he likes.
Yeah.
And there's a real 1994 gay tokenism feel to this subplot.
Their entire subplot only exists to give credit to Elle for some reason.
Absolutely.
Because at the end, when they finally, sort of come out and they're at the kissing booth kissing each other, it keeps cutting back to her having this look of look at the great thing I did.
The moment you can tell that Vince has probably never knowingly met a gay person in his life is when they come out by kissing in front of the entire school at the kissing booth. I do not think that is an accurate or anything less than a deeply idiotic and dangerous depiction of how gay teenagers would have to think about coming out to their school.
Yeah.
Let alone, unless I missed it, neither of them is actually certain that the other is gay.
Yeah.
So, in fact, when he talks with Elle, he himself is not even sure if he is gay.
I don't know what I am. I like him.
While she's talking with Marco at the kissing booth, she has this extremely bizarre line where she says,
But you're not the one that I'm lying to myself about. And that's why I have to go.
And that's the indication to her that that's who she should be with. So the person that she lies to herself about is the person that she has to be connected to. The movie hits the trilogy hits rock bottom, I think, as far as cinematic craft. In this sequence where they work on their DDR choreography, Marco, the sexy, dark, exotic stranger, reminds her that she can't worry about everything. She just has to let it go. Let go. And let it flow, and all of it has to come from the heart. She's a goddamned asshole who sits around, lies to her friends, and creates problems, but none of that is stuff that needs to be let go. There's nothing on this woman's mind. There are no problems that we see her struggling with, except the dead mom that she mentions in the montages at the start, who she obviously doesn't worry about because that never comes up again. The other thing to say about this is that it's just a really laughably awful sequence.
So, at the very end of the second movie, she got into two of the most prestigious schools over one essay? Are you fucking kidding me?
And so that's how the movie wraps up. Everything is revealed, I guess. Accuses Noah baselessly of cheating on her, and he apologizes to her for that. They ask what school she got into, and crestfallen, she tells them that she's waitlisted. She opens up her admissions letter, and we see that the teaser for the third movie is that she has lied yet again to both Noah and Lee. And I think there is something about the kissing booth in that you have all these confused teens. They want to interact with each other, but they're not able to do it. And so they pay for the opportunity at the kissing booth. And they're in a way, they commodify their own sexuality in the same way that the movie is commodifying their sexuality by ogling them and showing them off in bikinis all the time. Everything that happens, the big moments in everyone's relationships happen at the kissing booth for everyone to watch. And as I thought of the kissing booth as a concept, it seemed like a really on-the-nose depiction of teens just living in this dead, vacant, modern world. There's really something quite ghoulishly horrifying about these movies. Hey, how would you rate Kissing Booth 2?
I rate this about as good as a truck stop glory hole.
Vince, if you're listening, I'm available to co-write on The Glory Hole, your new teen trilogy. So the Kissing Booth 3 really expands the trilogy into bold new areas. By which I mean that instead of being lazy freeloader at the Flynn's main house, Elle spends the entire movie being a lazy freeloader at their beach house. They're going to be selling their beach house. And we discover, which I don't think we knew before, that this beach house has been like the site of like all their great memories and like they spend every summer here.
It's never came up.
Okay, I thought maybe I blacked out for a while during one of the first two and missed that. And here's where we get the big gimmick. They discover a new list of rules. Their bucket list for how they were going to have the best summer ever at the beach house. I think there's some more lying, and everyone shows up again to just be kind of drawn into their narcissistic bullshit and be abused for another 2 hours.
Elle decides to pay for either Harvard or Berkeley by being a waitress for a summer. I did some brief digging, just 10 seconds of Google search, right? If she were to be a waitress for an entire summer, she would make enough money to pay for the books for 2 semesters.
We are planning to sell the beach house.
What?
What? Truth is, the whole area is being redeveloped.
You know what you sound like, Mom? You sound like a realtor. Wait, so where are we gonna watch the fireworks on the 4th of July? No, I'm sorry. I'm putting my foot down. You guys are not selling.
I fucking hate Lee so much. Why do they have any say in the parents' decision to sell this house? They contribute nothing to this family or this movie. They're just dangling fucking parasites, sucking on resources, offering nothing in return. And then he says, I'm putting my foot down? Go fuck yourself. Watch 4th of July fireworks on TV, you smooth brain.
Okay, so we were on the same page about this. I obviously had noticed that they were kind of entitled douchebags throughout the movie. That's basically the plot. But we get to this moment. She says she's selling the beach house. Lee throws a tantrum, which is, again, as we've discussed, his one move. And then Elle pipes up.
Is this a vote? Because I vote no.
And I thought, bitch, get the fuck out. Are you paying for the meal that you're about to eat right now?
Why does she have any say in this?
If someone else's kid said that to me, god damn it. Soon after they arrive at the beach house, and Caroline yelled, and I quote, "Fuck you, fuck all of you. These people deserve to lose everything and learn what real problems in life are like."
And then, of course, they take up another fucking list, and they're gonna make life decisions based on it.
And this list, like the last one,
is asinine.
And also in a way that is not what 6-year-olds would have written. I don't know about anyone else. You can tell us in the comments what your childhood fantasies were like.
And then we're like 20 minutes into the movie, and this is like, what, the 4th fucking montage? And also, these activities that they're doing off of this bucket list, it's like skydiving, swimming with sharks, and those kind of things. Whatever happened to saving money for college? Do you know how much swimming with sharks costs?
There is no question that she spent more money on the list than she made in the summer. So Chloe re-enters, and there's this really depressing thing that kind of sums up what happens to all the characters in the movie, because Chloe's like wanting to come hang out at the beach house, and Chloe's like, oh, but will Elle be okay with that? And it's really just this moment where I was like, oh, so you've just accepted that she's a psycho, and you're just gonna like go along with it and enable that behavior by telling him that he should check with this woman that makes up insane shit in her head and punishes everyone for it. And she's like, oh, all of that stuff with Chloe is ancient history, as though it's some kind of benevolent moment, when in fact all that happened is she made everything up and cheated on him, and no one else did anything wrong. You don't get to decide if that's ancient history. You were the problem.
Yeah. So speaking of one of those side stories is we find out that Elle's father has started dating again and is seeing this woman who is perfectly nice. She seems sweet for like the one scene that we met her, but for some reason this is where Elle landed.
I just met her. She's kind of annoying.
No.
Why? She's not annoying. You're annoying.
I really felt bad for her, Linda, her name is, in this movie, who's obviously like quite desperate to make things work.
Yeah, she's
with Elle, and is like really puts herself out there.
Yeah.
And is really, for the record, like holding the family together as well.
She's
And-
like the one likable good character, actually,
Yeah.
now that I think about it.
I guess the one thing I'll say about the Mario Kart sequence is that there are a bunch of things in this movie that are supposed to be really fun and funny, and they just really aren't.
Yeah.
Even by the standards of these three movies, I think this one in particular is not funny. It's I don't know. Noah's very sad. He has a falling out. There's an argument, having made quite an understandable mistake in their relationship, I think, which is that he gets touchy about the fact that she's still hanging out with the guy that she previously cheated on him with in the middle of a live televised contest, and immediately puts together the biggest apology. She comes home, he's lit candles everywhere, he's put lights everywhere, he's blowing through his parents' money, presumably, with this massive romantic gesture. It really just highlighted something that you've talked about the whole way, which is that Elle has never apologized for the smallest to the biggest things she's done.
Elle does leave and not accept the apology, and she leaves for a flash mob?
Another classic 6-year-old dream.
I mean, even I think this is outdated, and I'm as trendy as a middle-aged man who bought a cowboy hat at a garage sale and insists everybody called him Duke.
Oh yeah, sorry about that, Duke. I'll be on that from now on. Things come to a head with Linda, this new woman in her life, during a Monopoly game, because Linda wins the role, and she wants the dog, and Elle is always the dog. So this is recognizable as the kind of fight you have with someone when they're 5 years old. Several adults sit around and watch a fight unfold where, and I think now 19 or 20-year-old refuses to let this woman choose a Monopoly piece.
I don't know why any of these parents, or even the side characters like Marco, I don't know why they like Lee or Elle, because, especially Elle, because she is the most toxic, the most terrible, she's borderline tyrannical, tawdry, torturous, tedious, just a taint of a person I've ever seen.
I put that part of my life on hold. I even took a job that I hate to earn more money to help you with school. You stand there and you call me selfish.
I don't understand. And this dad, when he kind of finally confronts her at the beachside, this man has the patience of a saint.
Absolutely.
If I do this much, and this is how she treats a perfectly nice, likable person in my life that brings me a little bit of joy, I don't think I can stop myself from getting violent at this point.
She's called out on all of the flaws that she's depicted, that she's had through the entire trilogy. I don't know if I feel that she learns anything from them this time, but it was an interesting dynamic for me. I don't know if it was thought of as a corrective for the first two films, but it does feel like there's finally some kind of acknowledgement that she's been an asshole the entire time, the entire trilogy.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the same cannot be said about Lee.
Is that really what you think this is about? The game? What do you think, I'm 5?
This is what I wrote. I don't think he's 5, because 5-year-olds are fucking intelligent and empathetic at times. He's more like a tapeworm, parasitic and prone to snapping.
Nice.
And this movie is an hour and 53 minutes long. It took me almost 3 hours to watch it.
It was exactly like being worn out by a narcissistic friend in real life.
Yeah.
Except delivered and packaged as a movie. And she's just staying at their beach house, playing fucking Ori.
Oh, I can't believe they dragged Ori into this.
Just keep that shit out of this. You're not up to the level of these other works of art. Stop.
She bullshits and lies her way into another school.
She gets into school, a different school, and goes off to make her own way, because she's realized that she can't follow other people. She has to forge her own path. It's 6 years later or something?
Yeah, 6 years later. She got a haircut because it's a representation of her character development. That didn't really happen.
Yeah, she kind of looks like discount Aaliyah Shawkat now.
She becomes a game designer.
Which you loved, I bet.
I work in the game industry for 7 years. Elle does not have the emotional fortitude, the charisma, the maturity to be in that industry. Yeah, I don't know. I think and then the movie pretty much just ends from this point on. And I think it's the whole thing is just insulting to teenagers. It's insulting to the
And I'm
viewer.
happy to dig a good moral out of the end of this movie. So, and the message I guess we're getting is you need to form your own identity. You can't go by the rules of your past. You have to give up what you had as a kid and learn to interact as an adult. So that's why she finally gets the guy after 6 years, because she's finally forged her own identity.
That's a much better take than I got out of this movie. Because all I wrote for my final note is, I feel like these three films set cinema and human progress back 40 years.
In my heart, though, I am with you. I'm going to rate The Kissing Booth 3 0 out of 3, because that's how many of these movies that I wish I had watched. I mean, I want to start drinking again a little bit after talking again through this traumatic experience.
I look forward to editing. No, I'm not. I can't even finish that sentence. Okay, so we're done with Kissing Booth, all three of them. I guess happy Valentine's Day. If you're watching this with us, I'm sorry you had to do that. But next week, we are going to be looking into Wicker Man, starring Nicolas Cage. We're going to go into that rabbit hole. Should be...
Oh, man. Yeah. Nicolas Cage in The Kissing Booth.
God.
I would watch that.
Nicolas Cage in the glory hole. Thanks for watching all of this with us, and click like and subscribe. Don't forget to do that, and check out our Patreon if you want to hear the entire full-length discussion like a podcast. It's also up there available. Check it out, and we'll see you in the next video.